Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everyone? So a little different today. I kind of felt like wanting to stand up. And in fact, we just sent out our commentary yesterday, and those that received it know that. But we want to go ahead and actually, so the comments, let me take a step back, right? So since 2017, Rhino has sent out a monthly investor commentary every single month, in which case the investors of Rhino always knew exactly where we were, what we're looking to accomplish, where we came from, what we learned along the way, learning we don't know what we don't know, or learning what we didn't know that we didn't know, right? Stuff like that. But now making the next step into launching RHINOstreet, it then permeates one's mind. Well, how are you getting people into RHINOstreet? How are you reaching out to people? How are you inviting them? And when they are on RHINOstreet, this payment system, and it's still a little fuzzy in my head, right? How do you go ahead and say to someone, hey, by the way, trust me, it hooks into your bank account, no problem. And that obviously requires better messaging. Like, I'm not going to say that because that's totally untrue. It never hooks into your account. It actually acts as kind of like the bouncer outside of it. It allows, well, not the bouncer, that's weird. It acts as like a liaison, right? Anything coming into this account, I want X amount to come into this account, and I want X amount to be distributed into that account. So it's totally like, we're never going to know that details of you, right? But even in me sharing that sentence, it comes up with Anthony. That sounded confusing as is, which is a real disservice to everyone that would be in Rhino, or somebody that eventually, or someone that isn't going to be in Rhino that could have been in Rhino if I was just better at messaging it. And I find that when we do our lives, I'm never going to script it, right? Like, I'm never going to sit out here and read blah, 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 which is actually ironic because that's what I'm going to do today, but it's different, right? Because I always felt that Wednesdays when we're together, you know who Rhino is. You know who Anthony is. Oh, I can't believe he said this today, or actually he went off on a tangent about this, blah, blah, blah. But I'm always going to offer such a transparent view of who Rhino is, so that you always know, okay, this happened, but I know who Rhino is, or that didn't happen, but I know who Rhino is, or I believe this would happen because I know who Rhino is. You don't know a company by seeing commercials. You don't know a CEO by listening to a soundbite. I really believe that one could effectively learn me, or at least learn Rhino, when they sit here and say, okay, Anthony's standing up in the middle of an office, like, what, he just already said like 10 things wrong. What's going on here? And I think that's valuable. I'm Italian, right? So I always grew up with, hey, listen, if you don't like my shirt, let me know. I'll go ahead and solve my emotions, but first I want to solve the shirt, right? So I'll always tell you exactly what's on my mind, and even if it's in like the most non-scripted session where it's like, Anthony, really, that's what you were thinking? The point of the story is, these medians act as a complete disservice to those that are saying, hey, I want to actually understand what Rhino's doing, not who Rhino is. Because to know who Rhino is, that takes repetition, right? Okay, I've seen 15 lives of Anthony, I know who Rhino is. But what about someone that only has the moment for one? Well, they're not going to know who Rhino is. Anybody that's here for the first time that watched his first 10 minutes is like, I know nothing of Rhino, except the head guy is like standing up, right? But our commentaries have always been where I literally, well, I hate saying literally, I take the day, it is my greatest passion, and I sit there and just talk about everything that we've gone through, everything that we're thinking, every hurdle, everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the expectations. And to our credit, we don't have a single investor that ever said, Ant, I want my money back. It just hasn't happened. And it's not that we are like world beaters. We believe we're going to change the world. But to go ahead and say to an investor, we're going to change the world in I don't know how many years, and I don't know the idea, but I promise you everything we do along the way, I'm going to share with you. And if at any point you find it to be offensive or disingenuous or non-productive, then you're welcome to leave. Your money's guaranteed. To not have a single person ever say, Ant, no, give it to me, is quite the credit. So that's the power of those commentaries. And it got me thinking, well, because we have to go ahead and really reach out to a large audience. Like a large audience is going to come to us because the way the emails are set up, blah, blah, blah. But there's going to be such an overwhelming large audience that we have never met, that has never met us. Hey, Javier, that's never met us, that are going to say, I just want to know who they are. I want to know, just give me a concise 1 or 2 pages of what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. That's all I want to know. And that is, hey, what's up? That's valuable. And then on top of that, what about, all right, I don't know this payment system, and I'm not really going to get into it. I don't want it. Okay. Well, that individual wrote the commentaries, was able to absorb exactly everything word for word what we're doing. They're not interested. Okay. Then the next week commentary comes out. Then the next week commentary comes out. The next week commentary comes out. Meaning that each commentary is not going to be monthly anymore. It's going to be weekly, but it's not going to be just to investors. It's going to be the entire ecosystem. It's going to be a Saturday morning, the week that was type of thing. It's going to be titled Rhino Commentary. That being said, any reasonable adult or person that reads any number of them, whether they decide to join or not, is going to have such an intimate view of the mechanics, the numbers, the everything of Rhino, that I don't want to say like a frog in boiling water because that has a bad connotation, but they're going to be so comfortable with what we're doing. They're going to understand what it is that we're doing. And at some point, when you speak to someone like a board member to board member, they're going to say, you know what? I didn't actually understand it all those times, but it's clicking to me. I've read enough. I know enough. I want to be in. And I think when that light bulb goes off for that person, not only are they in for a very long time because they made the decision, they were not convinced to, they voluntarily educated themselves and they decided to pursue it. But these are the people that then could share with others. And they could share in such a way, no, listen, I understand. We've been best friends for how long? I understand. When I started reading or when I met Rhino, I didn't really know. But I've had the opportunity and I can promise you, just trust me on this, it's going to be good. And regardless of whether the other friend understands enough to make the decision, when your best friend looks at you in such a way and says, listen, just trust me. I know what you're talking about, trust me. They've earned that. A currency of a best friend over X amount of years is that they get at least one try to say, just trust me, and you do. Now, obviously, our marketing plan isn't to go ahead and find everyone that's best friends and say, hey, listen, use this sentence to me. But with a behavioral science background, I know what that conversation looks like. And I know what it's going to take to go ahead and to bring people into the payment system. I'm not going to be able to have a high conversion if I go ahead and try to market to a prospect. That won't happen. But if I'm able to share the behind the curtains education, the company, the thoughts, the commentary, if I'm able to share what we're doing, I believe that the person at some point will say, I understand it. I'm okay with it. So maybe the conversion isn't like super duper day one, but the quality of the conversion is going to be much stronger and the overall conversion numbers will be much stronger. Now, mind you, this is just an attempt to push the ball down the hill, right? Because the second you have these conversions and adoptions, the transactions are recurring. Therefore, if this person's in, their transactions for life are in. It's not that they made a one-time purchase and the next person, the next person, the next person, and blah, 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 blah. Therefore, the coin value just continues to go higher. So when a coin is brand new, you might have to do some convincing. When a coin has gone up like 100 days in a row, there's no convincing left to do. The person's like, all right, let me just test it. And when you start having that, then it becomes a snowball. So really what this is focusing and targeting on is it's just to get the ball rolling. That's it. And once you do, it happens its own way. Also, teachers are a big, so anyway, let me get back to what I was talking about. So if you got nothing from this, because I've been all over the place, this is the bullet points. Anthony's going to read the June commentary. Anthony is letting everyone know that starting soon, definitely, maybe the first week of August, that the commentary is going to be open to everyone. Yeah, let's do the first week of August because then I'm already doing the commentary, I can put it together and blah, 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 and let everyone know. So the first week of August, and that was simplified, Anthony, that the first week of August, the commentary is going to be every Saturday and to the entire audience. And that commentary is going to have the goal to educate properly everyone of what exactly we're doing, to share the behind the curtain of who we are, but also go ahead and with a certain DNA within it to offer a nudge. Hi, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do. If you don't believe it yet, just continue reading and you will believe it. If we can accomplish all those things in a commentary, then it's just a numbers thing, right? Like how many people are reading it, what's the conversion level, and then each time a conversion happens, the next conversion level is going to be subsequently higher because the coin, which is what everyone's converting into, has subsequently gone up. So it's easier to buy something that's been doing good for 10 days than something that's been doing good for 0 days, right? We understand that. Anyways, I'm already exhausted. Do you know my alarm goes off at 4 in the morning? Like, anyway, so what I want to do today is read the commentary. And the reason I had this idea, other than like the last half hour of everything I mumbled, was the fact that our day is so busy today that I'm not sure that anyone ever knows that I spend at least an hour and a half, 2 hours preparing for these lives. One might not know that because I get on and I just talk, but the points, the comfort in topic, because you remember, I'm so far in the forest that I can't actually see the trees. I just see one tree. So to pull myself back and to be able to speak to like a human being about human being stuff is difficult for me. So I did not have the time today. I knew I wasn't going to have the time, but this, I spent a whole day writing and it just got sent out yesterday. So it's hot off the presses. So let's read it, right? Okay. July 12th, 2022. It's always my greatest pleasure to share with you how we are doing. The month of June has been one of which you don't know what you don't know, presented us many pop quizzes, and we scored an A+ on all of them. The very nature of the statement shares two things. Projections are based on the known, and those projections are only valuable if engineered to integrate with the unknowns. This statement, because it represents our entire month. Oh, probably missed a word there, right? Salesforce is our email platform partner, and they are the best in the industry. When we approached them to negotiate a long-term partnership, we shared with them we are not going to be a traditional partner, that we were going to change the world, and as such, we would likely require some customization. They welcomed our challenge, and we signed on for 5 years. We tasked them with customizing a new email marketing process, one that we will invent and they will build. They said yes, quoted us 103 hours worth of labor, $16,995, we accepted. What we did not know was that even Salesforce was blown away by our invention in such a way that they materially underestimated the work involved. They came back to us last week and shared, 2 weeks ago, that it will be an additional 141 hours and an additional $23,265. We negotiated them down to $21,000 even and said yes. In our very biased and very fair opinion, we will have the industry-leading email marketing platform. Our emails will have our forms as part of them. Those forms will pull the recipient's data to populate those forms. The recipient is able to update the data in real time, which simultaneously updates the recipient's data in our back-end database. The recipient can simply click submit within the email, never leaving the email. Upon doing so, the dominoes of automation triggers are now in motion. We will touch on that topic more. Because our email build will take an additional 4 to 6 weeks from today, and because the additional financial resources it will cost us, we have this burning desire to make it worth it. Like a night you go out and maybe spend too much money, that next morning you decide to cut out an unhealthy habit to balance the finances and come out as a winner. That is this. We have gone through our data line by line and broken down every email to fill in the data we didn't formerly have. For instance, if the email was joesmith@thehardwarestore.va.com, we could be reasonably certain of his first name, his last name, his business name, and his state. That data is gold to us, especially because the data already populates the forms that we're having them press submit on. It's always easier for someone to press submit to their data than to volunteer their data by clicking a button and going off site to another website to fill it in and press submit again. Now, RHINOStreet.com is our headquarters. It's funny. We built RHINOStreet to be our filet mignon. And what we didn't know was it really was our side of garlic mashed potatoes. Try waking up to that reality, to find out the center of your universe is really an entrance to the center of your universe. You see, RHINOStreet is the world's first and only nonprofit local search engine. Because we have coded 4 proprietary bots within our algorithm, any user from anywhere in the world can search and the results will always be calculated within 20 miles of that user's exact location. Now, that wasn't always the case. What we didn't know was that our ecosystem will be so motivated to get started ASAP. You see, about 30% of our ecosystem lives abroad. So we recoded our bots to calculate global zip codes, not just domestic. They, just like our domestic rhinos, want to start bringing on their communities. That sentence may sound bigger than it actually has the power to be, but I show you it's exactly right. Remember, just a little while ago, I shared how we touched more on the email system that we invented. We have 2 forms built into the emails. One is list your business. The other is suggest your favorite business. List your business allows the recipient to list the business they own, in which case, upon pressing submit, that data shoots over to RHINOStreet and that business owner is now a live search result for anyone to find. What we didn't know was what popped into our heads when data mining line by line. Just because a person doesn't own a business doesn't mean that they don't have a business to list. For instance, any business you work for, especially today, nudges you to network, to go out and share with others who you represent. The belief being people by people, not product. That if you find a friend that provides a service, you will remember to call them for it when and if you ever need that service. In this moment, a light bulb moment. It became apparent to us, even employees of businesses should be able to list their business. That if I wanted to find a hairdresser, I would be much better served learning about the barber than the messaging of the salon. In this case, the barber is now empowered as a pillar of his or her community because it is them who is the search result. In clicking them as a search result, you are learning about who they are. Their value becomes unlocked as the focus of your next haircut is no longer the cool place, but the cool barber. And the place where he or she works is secondary. As an aside, this is not taking away from the actual business owner. It's simply forcing transparency. The salon that has the most cool barbers is likely the one you want to go to. Also, RHINOStreet is an invented search engine in our likeness. It's the iPhone to your BlackBerry. It's just different. Our search results will have a headshot of the owner on the left-hand side, the blank margin you see when you do Google searches, and the business name will say Feel Good Salon by Frank Gallagher. We believe that once the user feels the warmth of seeing their own community as their result, seeing their names and pictures, everyone invited in to participate in real time, they will look back and wonder how they ever used the phone without the touchscreen. Now, suggest your favorite business. This form allows the recipient to share RHINOStreet with their best friends. You see, anyone who joins RHINOStreet obviously appreciates the value, and in that moment where that is top of mind, the moment they submit listing their business, they will receive an immediate follow-up email thanking them for joining and nudging them to share the same experience with their best friend, someone who can appreciate the value as well. Now, of course, people are totally biased by their own opinion, and people are who they are friends with. Meaning, when crafted properly, that person will go ahead and suggest a best friend or a business owner who has the best place in town. While needing to be crafted properly, it also needs to allow impulse, like the pack of gum at the grocery checkout line. This thank you email will be crafted correctly and will also have our suggest your favorite business form within it. So when someone lists their business, this form is actually going to be what's in the email that comes back to them. This form will have as much information as we have already populated, which won't be much since we cannot read the person's mind on who their best friend will be. And if we could, I think that would creep them out. But since this is a local search engine, we can assume the town, definitely the state, meaning the recipient will simply need to fill out first name, business name, thing he or she loves about this person and email. So I don't know if that made sense. So if I listed my business, then I'm getting a thank you email and I'm being asked to refer a friend, right? I'm going to fill out that information about my friend. Okay, I think I want to refer a Frank. Frank Gallagher, Frank Gallagher's hair salon, Freehold, New Jersey, Frank Gallagher at frankgallagher.com, right? Now, but here's the thing, also something you love about them, so I grew up in the stock market world, and it was always quite important when you were speaking to prospects to have a personal thing that you remembered about them. I would see some people go, oh, and Frank, just so you can remember who I am, what was your first car? 67 Chevy, right? So then when you called the person, but hey, listen, I don't want to take these calls. I don't take these calls. You guys called me too much. Frank, remember you told me you first owned a 67 Chevy? Oh, Anthony, it's you. Duh, okay? Along the lines, it was you taking a personal interest in the person. So we have that as well. Now, upon the recipient clicking submit, boom, the recipient's friend receives that immediate email inviting them to join RHINOStreet, that their friend's name nominated their business to join RHINOStreet because friend's name and thing you love about them. So for instance, hey, Frank, Steve absolutely thinks you give the best haircuts in town at your shop, Frank Gallagher's Hair, and he personally wants us to invite you to RHINOStreet. Why don't you join? Now, where am I? Within this email, they will see the list your business form. Remember, list your business, already populated with the data their friend volunteered. So that form already says Frank Gallagher, frankgallagher.com, Frank's Haircutting, Freehold, New Jersey, which means now Frank. This referral will only need to add their last name, zip code, business website if they have one, and 3 keywords they'd like to be associated them when they when they list as a search result. Because remember, also what's different about us is that we're not taking the power away from the individual to manage their own search result. Like Google and Bing and all these other places, you can't manage your own search result. You can't make your own keywords. You can't. You can sit there, shut up, and have them do what they want to do. With Rhino, you're going to be given complete autonomy over your business name, your key terms, your description of your business. Now, one might say, well, how do you police that, right? Like people could be real knuckleheads. That's why Google doesn't do it. I agree. But who does Google have to police? They have to police the globe because the globe is not accountable to another part of the globe. Someone in Malaysia doesn't care that someone in Kentucky is going to find out the hard way that they lied about something. RHINOStreet, because it's a 20-mile radius of the user, is self-policed. The community knows Frank Gallagher's first name, last name, and what his shop is. If Frank Gallagher, who owns a haircutting shop, decides to go ahead and say that he's running a brothel or something, or a pizza shop, why is that the thing I think of, right? Like a pizza shop or something silly, not that the pizza shop's silly, the brothel's silly. All right, see, that's why I need to read things. But if he says he owns a pizza shop or an auto body shop, they're gonna say, no, he doesn't. That's not even close to being true. And they could DM him or they could contact us. Hey, Frank is lying. The point is that when we go ahead and open it to the community and we're a complete nonprofit, the community is our partner, which means we're able to do things that no one else can do because the community is self-policing as their partnership to Rhino. That's how this is built. So we can go ahead and offer a level of access that no one's ever offered anyone. So right now, just as where we speak, if you're on Google, you can go ahead and spend X amount to go ahead and maybe do ads to get your listing up, well, so that you could compete with bots and budget and have zero power or access over changing everything because Google does it for you. Or you could join RHINOStreet where no one is able to do any type of ad spend. It's completely nonprofit and you're only competing with those in your 20-mile radius. And I don't know about you, but most communities are self-policing a community and self-balancing. A community doesn't need 7 car washes. They need 1, maybe 2. Therefore, when someone types in, I'm looking for a car wash, only the ones that are in the community are going to pop up. You're not going to be competing with car washes all over the world. Therefore, you don't have a competition outside of the community while the community self-polices who you are and make sure everyone's accurate. It's just better. It's just better. And again, I'm completely biased, so let's continue. Then they press submit and boom, so the search result, the referred business becomes a search result right away. They receive an immediate email confirming that they are now a live search result and the nudge to suggest their best friend like another just did for them. to share this experience they have been so privileged to have with another that will thank them just the way they're thanking their friend. So we have one person. Now they went ahead and brought someone else on. Now that other person who we've given this great privilege to, we're saying, now it's your turn to hand the baton. It's your responsibility to now mention your best friend. Now for you to bring someone on. And if they do so, there is a series of emails that are each a little bit different. Hey, great job. Hey, well done. Hey, can you do this again? Can you do this again? Which means if someone's properly incentivized and has the proper amount of time or has the passion of Rhino, they single-handedly can bring a whole community on by simply just doing it over and over again. Because as you can tell, one person does not equal one person with Rhino. Rhino can have 100,000 people day one and have 2 million by day two. That's the way Rhino's built. If the messaging and if the value proposition makes the sense to do so, which I'm hoping it does, right? On and on it goes. I mean, the community itself has the awesome power to actually bring their community on in its entirety. One person can sit there and recommend 20 others. We have designed and engineered our email platform to be without many hurdles for anyone to invest a minute to continue handing off that baton. And why wouldn't they? We are a nonprofit free local search engine that disqualifies Wall Street companies, does not allow any ad spend, and simply celebrates their community to their community. Which, by the way, we know we're going to need to remind everyone of, because people don't always remember that you do something for them or that you make something for them. You have to let them know, which we are not shy to do, right? Rhino Retirement is our filet mignon. Right now, we are investing every available second to coding out our retirement system. We have always stated that power is in the population, not wealth. That wealth is as fluid as water and simply flows to where the power is. The difficulty of that statement being believed is that it's been depressed. Our population is so systematically divided that no revolutionary idea stands a chance to live long enough to build an army. What I mean by that is, do you think every Walmart employee can get together and demand $10 increase in salary or they would walk out? Absolutely, and Walmart would pay it. Otherwise, Walmart would go bankrupt. Do you think Walmart employees would like a raise? Yes. Then why don't they strike? The answer is in the systematic division. Those employees will never be allowed the environment to allow that idea to grow, nor the ability to pull that idea. So instead, they work for what is given to them, not what they are actually worth. So the challenge is, how do we group a population together along an idea that everyone supports? Do you know 99.9% of businesses in the world are small business? Now, that's not hyperbole, that's a real statistic. Do you know that small business by any metric is in decline? Therefore, it stands to reason if you could invent something that supports small business at the expense of Wall Street businesses, this community would appreciate it. RHINOStreet.com. It stands fair to reason that if you could invent something that supports the gathering of like-minded community members in an easy and instant way that this community would appreciate it. Salesforce marketing, the emails that we just mentioned that we invented. It stands also fair to reason that if you can invent something that identifies the value of this community, creates a free and fair market to cash in and cash out, all while compensating every individual of his community exactly what their value is, they would consider it, right? That's Rhino Retirement, what we're talking about now. This is quite simple, yet can be described to completely blow up anyone's brain. Supply and demand, that's the simple part, right? We have minted 1 billion Rhino bucks. That's the name of our token. That is all that will ever exist. It already is written into stone that there will never be an additional coin ever minted. That is the supply side. Every member of RHINOstreet will be nudged to opt into our Rhino Retirement, the payment system we were talking about. Not obligated, but nudged. Rhino Retirement, which still doesn't flow easily off my tongue, so it's likely to evolve until we find something that doesn't make me cringe every time I say it, which you can see me, I'm like, the payment system. Converts 1 to 5% of transactions associated with the accounts of the user's choosing to be distributed into their Rhino Retirement account. What does that mean? So if I opt into it and I say I want to convert 1% of incoming transactions to my checking account to go ahead and go into my Rhino account, I opt in. We're partners with Stripe, so we have a corporate partnership with Stripe, Stripe Connect, in which case you would go ahead and identify that checking account, set it up with the Stripe Connect, And every dollar that comes into it, 99 cents comes into it. The other penny, the 1%, gets distributed to your Rhino account, which has your Rhino bucks. That works because we have a partnership with Binance, and they have lent us, not lent, but they've given us access to their API. So Stripe Connect, 99 cents to your bank account, 1 cent turns into a crypto USDC, which is their stable coin, which is like a real stable coin, not Luna or something. It's like actually backed by money. That then gets sent over to Binance through the API that we have access to, which then takes that and automatically converts it to the Rhino Bucks, where your wallet is. Your wallet home is in your mobile app, which is still being built, which is very close. I'll actually have the wallets to demo tomorrow morning. And that's where that house is. So it's like a piggy bank. All right, I have a penny in my pocket. Let me put it here. So that's how that system works. What we didn't know was that we could code this to encompass all transactions, not just incoming. Also, we could open this to any account, not just business accounts. That is what we learned along the way. That exponentiates the transactional volume and addressable community from limited to total. The way this works, and I just explained it, take that in, let's see. Okay, so excuse me, by the way. Take that and multiply it by the number of people who will be a part of RHINOStreet, and you come to a calculation of much higher demand than supply. You see, these are not one-time 1% buys. They're reoccurring to every transaction the person ever has, meaning that person will earn exactly what their market value is. For instance, if someone does 10 times more transactions a day than someone else does, well, they're going to have 10 times more in their Rhino account than the other person does, which means your Rhino account actually exactly quantifies your marketable value. And you stand to gain exactly that. It's a completely fair system because it's built that way. And in the case it hasn't hit you just yet, transactions are infinite. Your transactions will last until the day you pass away. While your life is now, others will join who will have different timeframes until they pass away. Multiply that by forever, and demand is now equals infinite. Hopefully that light bulb moment just went off. We've invented a revolutionary platform that captures the exact value of the population and fairly distributes each individual's exact value if they should decide to redeem. Because demand is infinite, every new reoccurring transaction, every new RHINOStreet member, every future investment from funds or whatever, or whomever, will equal a higher market value forever. For those who have said, Anthony, what if Elon Musk comes out and says sell, or some influencer, etc.? Won't the price collapse like all the other coins? No. Sure, it may dip down on selling by easily persuadable people, but the transactions are all organic and real. Every transaction is, every buy for the coin is, what's the word I'm looking for? Is consequential to the transaction of the person, right? So if I go ahead and buy a slice of pizza for like $5 these days, and I put it on 1%, I'm going to pay them $5, and in the $5 leaving my account, 5 cents, which is 1%, is going to go into the Rhino account, which means 5 cents is going to be real purchasing of the coin. Therefore, every transaction, every tick, every buy is actual, real, and founded and supported, not just Bitcoin like fairy dust and hey, listen. No. Meaning when it dips, it'll simply just balance back to where it was before the dip, because the buying of the coin is constant as our community's transactions. Teachers are real-life superheroes, in Rhino's opinion. In the earlier grades, these superheroes are mostly women who commit to a career of caring for other people's children as their own. They sniff out any abuse at home, they correct any learning impediment, they make sure everyone is well loved, protected, fed, and raised. For this highest responsibility, to be completely responsible for our future, they are woefully underpaid. Their heart is weaponized against them to negotiate their salary. Every teacher feels underpaid. If they all gathered and striked, they would see their salaries meaningfully increase. But because it is a teacher, because it is the children that would pay the price, they won't. How do we allow such a beautiful person suffer economically so bad that they have to ask others to help pitch in for school supplies? Not only are they woefully underpaid, but they are responsible for every bit of supplies from pencils to classroom decorations to those snacks we all look forward to when we were in second grade. Teachers, in our opinion, are the most important people in any community. Before you think police officers or nurses or other fields that can be argued as just as important, allow me to share my calculations. Teachers know generations of parents within any community as they taught mom and dad and then mom and dad's children. Everything anyone does in life is usually bonded by a common theme for their children. When a parent-teacher conference happens, the parent could be the CEO of Apple. He or she is still inferior to that teacher. Everyone knows a teacher is universally underpaid, yet they still teach from heart, not from bank account. A child has no higher moment than a teacher's approval, nor does a parent have a higher moment than their children's report card. If the teachers went on strike, the entire community would come to a grinding halt. I respectfully don't believe all that is true of any other profession. Rhino believes teachers are superheroes. And if any of the Rhino retirement section confused you, do you think a teacher would be as confused? Or would they understand it and be able to teach it to you? It's impossible to know what you don't know, but it's very possible to always grow from it. Our community this month, our commentary this month highlights all the things we didn't know and in our core business. I think you'd agree, not knowing was a blessing to what we learned. And as for teachers, do you think Rhino becoming a superhero to teachers when no one else has would correctly identify a most valuable foundation for all that we discussed? We do. Please visit and follow us on Twitter. You have to see what we've accomplished in pursuit of this thought, twitter.com/Anthony Rhino. P.S. It is our absolute hair on fire goal to have Rhino retirement plus Salesforce emails completed by August 1st. I hope we don't run into anything that we don't know before then, but if we do, it'll be okay. Just continue your patience and know Rhino will change the world and you'll likely become a billionaire because of it. There's a lot going on. I'm going to share the rest in our next month's commentary. And then I believe that every week sharing that commentary is really going to catch people up. What I would like to share today, though, outside of everything we just did share, is that we always ask, like, V is amazing, right? So she's our head of concierge and she's the front lines of all the communication. And what I ask her every week is if you could go ahead and compile a couple of questions that we can get to on the live so that we can answer it for the community at large. And this week she didn't have many questions, and by many I mean 0. Now, of course, she probably could answer some of them. So maybe she had like 5 or 10, but she just knew how to answer. This live, I suspect and presume, might create a couple of questions. Please, v@RHINOstreet.com, share them with her. Next week, we'll go ahead and sit here with a piece of paper, question 1, question 2, question 3. So for that, I love everyone. Thank you for your continued patience. You can see me sweating at like 2:30. We're really, we're trying every second, and we're gonna do it. Just bear with me, right? Love you guys. I'll see you next week. Bye. Now, how do I shut this, right? That would be nice. Hi. No! Why are people texting me? Let me shut this. Okay, let's try this again. Bye.